being put forward really created the right to work as a major issue in our state, and it was a very divisive issue.
And it still is. These demonstrators voicing their anger at Governor Rick Snyder today, accusing him of union busting and trying to take over the city of Detroit. The state's new emergency manager and right-to-work laws both officially taking effect today.
But opponents are stepping up to fight to repeal those laws, and they took their protest to the courts and the streets. Fox 2's Moriel Lou live now with a closer look. Moriel.
There are at least 4 lawsuits in the courts right now, 2 against right to work and 2 against the emergency manager law. So protesters followed Governor Snyder all over Detroit, everywhere he went today. But the protest with the biggest impact started right here at the Spirit of Detroit and then moved inside to the city county building and became a sit-in protest.
You just can't take stuff from people and expect people to roll over in the corner. They bring people from outside. Lansing comes in from outside. They bring somebody else from Maryland, and they tell the people in the city of Detroit to sit down and shut up.
Fought this fight 50 years ago, and now we're right back doing it.
This tearful protester says her rights have been trampled. Right to work and emergency manager legislation now in full effect, and some Michigan voters are vowing to fight. Governor Snyder spoke at the Pancakes and Politics breakfast at the DAC, and the protesters were there.
Right to work depresses wages, depresses benefits, it gives people less money to spend in our businesses and our communities.
If this doesn't work, we're going to try to make sure 2014, we make sure Rick Snyder's going to be out of there.
Every city that the emergency manager has come into, it is worse. It is worse. We can do bad by ourselves.
Bishop Burndale Jefferson came all the way from Flint, a city also run by an emergency manager, to legally challenge Public Act 36, the EM law that gives Kevin Orr the power to run Detroit and override collective bargaining agreements. She was joined by civil rights icon Al Sharpton, who calls PA 36 undemocratic and unlawful. And he's not the only one trying to get Kevin Orr kicked out.
The Emergency Loan Board has exclusive jurisdiction over the appointment, and any appointments or interviews for said appointment have to be done in an open meeting per the Open Meetings Act. And in this case, as we all know, the interviews of Mr. Orr or even others were done in private.
Robert Davis filed a separate lawsuit Thursday morning citing a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Davis says both laws can be overturned if voters continue to fight.
That's part of democracy. That's what the courts are for. Our track record's very good in winning our lawsuits.
I'm actually enthusiastic about the new act. I think it allows us to further the partnership that we have with the mayor and the city council, and we'll see how far we can go with it.
Governor Snyder and Kevin Orr tell Fox 2 everything was done by the books. They're turning their attention to people like Michael Cunningham, Detroiters who just want change.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a new or different result. The overhead of the city is too high. Some things need to be privatized.
Michael is against right to work, but hopeful it's not all for nothing.
My message to Kevin Orr is we support you, we're praying for you, and also I support and am praying for these people here because their voting rights are being trampled on. It's a catch-22.
Union leaders tell me that what we saw today is just the beginning, and there are more organized protests scheduled for nearly every day here in the city of Detroit for the next few weeks. Reporting live in downtown Detroit, I'm Moriel, Fox 2 News.
Now in the courts, if the EM law is overturned, will that undo everything the EM has done so far?
Robert Davis tells me that no, it will not undo anything because now that the EM law is in effect, everything an EM does is legal, so it can't be undone. But if the law is overturned, the EM would be fired, and the elected official that would come in would then have the power to undo everything that's been done.
All right, Moriel, thank you. With that new EM law now in effect, the emergency manager for Detroit Public Schools has more power, and his first decision was to fire the superintendent. Roy Roberts made the announcement in a letter dismissing Dr. John Telford from the job. Roberts is also reversing many of the decisions made by the elected school board since August. The old emergency manager law gave the elected board authority over academic operations, but as of today, Roy Roberts has virtually complete control. You'll hear from the superintendent who was fired, John Telford, ahead at 6 tonight.
This the husband of the black woman that was his wife. He burnt up the house and they just found her body parts after 6 years. Now he's in jail not for her murder, but he's in jail for the murder of his first wife. Wow. Y'all better be careful. Okay, this next story is showing you how this financial manager and how all these billionaires and everybody got their chops in to get a piece of the action of Detroit. This is prime proof that we up for sale. Check this out.
A new vision to revitalize shopping in downtown Detroit is emerging tonight. Billionaire Dan Gilbert rolled out his plan for a retail renaissance at an event with business and civic leaders today. He says we'll see a dramatically different Detroit in just 2 years. One new addition is a Papa Joe's Market that could open at the First National Building by the end of the year.
Wow.
You've just been watching the MrSan44Man Detroit Raw Show, only on YouTube, a Positivity in Effect Productions.